Tesla shareholders beginning to vote on the approval of Elon Musk's pay package. Proxy advisory firm Glass Lewis urging shareholders to reject the deal. Meanwhile, Elon Musk is offering tours of Tesla's Gigafactory in Texas to 15 shareholders. It's the latest effort to rally support for his pay. Joining us right now is Eric Talley, Columbia Law School professor. Good morning to you, Eric. Let's just start with the basic question. If you were voting, which way do you vote?
Well, it turns out I have a position in Tesla, a very small one, and I'm inclined to vote against. The rationale for moving to Texas is a difficult one, in my view, since there's really just not much developed law there. This is an expensive experiment. From the standpoint of voting for the ratification of the pay package, this is a complicated issue. But one of the big issues that Tesla is now confronting is that like much of the EV sector, it's sort of a melting ice cube, at least currently, with margins thinning, competition from China really heating up, a major political candidate saying that EVs are not in the future of U.S. policy, and so that would make me a little bit queasy as well. That clearly had an influence on Glass Lewis.
What do you think the risk is? And I assume you must think it's not very high. That Elon Musk says, you know what? Thank you so much for playing, and good luck to you. I know I've got money in this, meaning Elon Musk has money in Tesla, but I'm going to start focusing on some other things. I'm not so thrilled to work with a group of people who doesn't want to honor the contract.
Yeah, well, he's been unapologetic about placing himself in that position, and there is a plausible claim that I think probably other shareholders are mulling over right now to say, look, the one thing that's been kind of the secret weapon of Tesla is Elon Musk. Keeping him happy is of paramount importance, and to the extent that he can continue the winning streak going forward, we want to keep him around. We want to keep him happy. The hanging of the threat to take his ball and go home is complicating in a bunch of different ways, in part because even if this vote that is being put before shareholders is to have legal effect, one of the big requirements behind it is that it has to be uncoerced, that the shareholders don't have to feel like they have a sort of Damocles hanging over their head in voting to approve or to ratify the compensation. So
you're of the view that even if it were to vote, there was an approval of the vote, that it would be overturned by this judge?
I'm just saying that Mr. Musk should tread carefully here. If in fact what the move here is to try to get a shareholder vote coming forward, if successful, to essentially patch up some of the flaws that gave rise to the opinion earlier this year. Shareholder votes can actually carry a lot of sway in Delaware, but they got to be fully informed, and they can't be the byproduct of coercion. And so the big move here is to try to make sure.
I don't understand two pieces of what you just said. It don't make any sense to me. Right. One is the idea that there's fraud. So do you not feel fully informed at this point about this agreement?
I feel completely informed. In fact,
okay.
I think that
so let's take that off the table. So everybody's fully informed. Okay. This idea of coercion, this idea that an employee might not stay, you think is a form of coercion?
Not entirely in that direction, but one of the other issues that Mr. Musk has raised is the possibility that he's going to take a project that had been touted as something inside Tesla, the initiative in AI, and take it elsewhere. Does that make my hand feel a little bit forced in voting? Yeah, it might. And so
he's already done that. XAI just raised $6 billion. You're also fully informed, Eric.
I am, and he certainly made that position clear, though we're still kind of in a state of flux as to what extent Mr. Musk is going to,
So let's say you vote against him. Then what do you think happens?
Well, it's unclear exactly which way things are going to go. If the vote goes against Mr. Musk, there is a reasonable chance that
he is going to... But you want to vote against him. You just said that you want... You're doing this just as a political stance? What are you doing this as?
No.
You want him to lose. So if you want him to lose, what do you think happens if he loses?
It may well be the case that Mr. Musk decides that he's going to move on to other pastures, and there is an argument among Tesla stockholders that would be a bad thing. There's an argument that it might be an okay or an acceptable thing for the future of the company. And that's exactly the inflection point that I think we're finding ourselves at.
And so you think there's more value to be created with him not there, or with the risk that he's not there? That's a better outcome for you.
It is a super close call, in my view, Andrew, that this is not 2018. This is 2024. In fact, that's one of the big problems here, is that I think getting a stockholder vote to approve and ratify this pay package would have been much easier even a year ago than it is right now.
Do you feel it's fair? I know the word fair is sort of thrown around as a word. Do you think it's fair that this individual, signed a deal that appeared to be voted for, hit all the numbers, and is now in a situation where not only the judge is saying that she's overturning the contract, but that the shareholders are saying, actually, now that we know everything, and we know you did everything, we know you did everything you said you were going to do, we don't really want to give you the money?
Yeah, I think, quite frankly, Delaware tries to empower shareholders to make exactly that type of decision. And so from the standpoint of a shareholder who sort of thinks,
empowers people to renege on their deals? What are you talking about?
No. I'm agreeing with you, Andrew. So let me get it out here that in fact, I think Delaware basically is if anything, it is about trying to empower shareholders to say, look, we knew what we were doing and we're going to do it again. And we would like to, give Mr. Musk some compensation for services rendered. To the extent that stockholders of Tesla want to do that right now, and they do so on a fully informed and uncoerced basis, it's hard to justify, tying their hands and saying you're not allowed to do that. Now, there's a genuine debate as to whether that's a good idea or not. But if the balance of stockholders at Tesla decide, yeah, we want to make sure that Mr. Musk was fairly compensated for services previously rendered, and we want to be able to do so by expressing our opinion through our vote, it's going to be hard, in my view, for Delaware courts to say we're just going to disregard that expression of intent by stockholders.
Right.